Where do you find your news?
Nowadays, usually the internet and newspapers, whatever newspapers I can find.
Online, mostly. I Google a lot of my news, and usually I find it on the Huffington Post.
Online, I think BBC, Euronews from Europe, CNN, of course, and another online.
Television, newspaper, magazine.
Yeah, online. The websites that my colleague just listed.
This is, I think, is a really big thing. So I find my news on the internet. I do not use newspapers anymore to find news. I don't read the newspapers to find out what's going on in the world. I read newspapers to find out what people think about what's going on in the world.
I do go to the internet, however, I like reading print news more than the internet.
I find my news on news websites.
But I listen to the radio and watch TV news, sort of not 24-hour news, but sort of a news bulletin once a day. But I also have the radio on and pick up a lot from that.
A mixture of internet, and TV.
I think that print news is just easier to, it's tangible, you know, it's easier to look at, it's easier to take in, it's easier to read, but, you know, internet's easier, it's free, so I do find myself going to the internet nowadays for news.
When I want to learn about current times, that's when I watch the news, because the news on TV and like the official news with an anchor, that's more like just telling you what has been going on in the past like 6 months, and actual news like instant news, like some celebrity's death or something. That happens on like Twitter and Facebook. You know, that's where you really get the real chunk of your news. Other people sharing about what they care about. What factors make me choose one source of another? I would have to say honesty and how willing you are to talk about news that may even be unflattering to your side of the fence, you know?
I don't, and I don't. I don't choose one over another.
I think legitimacy, brand name, is a big one. You know, people, along with myself, will read things that have a name that is familiar. You know, the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal, BBC.
What kind of factors are you looking for to say, I would prefer to choose A versus B? Like, what would A exhibit that B wouldn't?
A lack of sensationalism, a lack of bias in the writing, but you can't have that. That's something that news isn't. That's why you have to choose many different sources, as I do.
But then there are other avenues. There's a news paper that I'm sure you guys are familiar with called Spare Change, which is written by homeless people, which people would automatically assume is not as legitimate as another news source, but I think it is. You know, it's just a different medium. But I think its brand name is the most important.
It must be the topic that is important at this time, or that can be crucial for most people or for myself.
More information, but I'll go between different sources. Like I'll go to CNN and then I'll go to the Huffington Post, and then I'll go to FARC to see like if I see something that kind of is similar, and I'll go to various different places. I'll Google it, find different articles from different states even on the same subject.
I think the news must be fast, and I should believe for journalists which get this news.
Well, I guess someone that's any kind of news that's going to give you a straightforward kind of actually what's going on, unbiased.
Balance.
Impartiality. Kind of have to say that being British.
I think it's the speed is very important.
I feel like a lot of times with people who are more liberal, they take the name of being, oh, this is honest news. Like, because, just because we're able to see both sides of the fence doesn't mean we, still aren't just greedy as the people we hate.
I think impartiality is the most important for me. I need to know that it's a trustworthy, impartial, preferably independent, but I'm not entirely sure what that means anymore, source.
having the intention to share what's going on in the world instead of trying to share the way you see the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we naturally go towards the BBC to start with, and then may look out with that, but that's our first port of call.
Yeah. A lot of stuff you see on TV just isn't honest at all. And it's a shame where the most honest news you can get is comedy, you know, Daily Show, Colbert Report, because it's gotten to a point where things are so ridiculous and people are so, you can't say people are so ignorant because, you know, it's like you're sounding like an asshole yourself. But it's gotten to a point where things are so ridiculous where news has to be broadcasted humorously, if you are to be honest.